Welcome, friends. Jared here with Launch Terre, Haute, and I'm here with Bo Turner of BoCo Collective. And today we'll be continuing our inclusive entrepreneurship series, talking about Asian and Pacific Islanders. Bo is here to kind of chat about her culture and talk to us a little bit about her experience, her entrepreneurial experience in the Wabash Valley and beyond. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start off by just telling me a little bit about your business, BoCo Collective.
Yes, it would be a pleasure. So I'm one of the co-founders, myself and my business partner, Courtney Cook. And we are a female-founded digital marketing social media agency. And we specialize in social media management, strategy, and we also do photography, website design, and logos and branding.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we were talking earlier, and you had quite a bit of business here in the Wabash Valley, but not all of it. Some of it's beyond Indianapolis, across Indiana. So not just working here, right?
Yes, we've been really fortunate, especially working in an industry that's highly digital. We can have clients from all over the world. We just had one from the Cayman Islands a couple months ago, which was really cool. We did a logo design for her and her new business. So it's interesting where we find people.
That's awesome.
Or how they find us, I guess.
How they find, well, that means you're good at your job, right? So, Bo, you've been very open about your Asian heritage and your story of coming to Terre Haute. Now, I know that story, but can you tell the individuals watching a little bit about that story and how that happened?
Of course. I was adopted from Guangzhou, China when I was 1 year old. My mother was 50 when she adopted me, and my dad was 46. They grew up, well, they didn't grow up, but they've been in Terre Haute for many years. And I was raised in Terre Haute, went to Rio Grande, Otter Creek, Terre Haute North, and then Indiana State University, and got a marketing degree at ISU. I started my master's for a hot second, but then decided I wanted a full-time job and kind of did that route, but learned a lot. I'll go back for my master's eventually, probably when I'm like 30. I was adopted, grew up here, loved to travel, and I didn't really experience my love of travel until I went into college and had the opportunities to be able to travel to around the country and also internationally. And that really sparked my travel bug was the awesome experiences at Indiana State that offered me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you actually run a travel blog, and I don't want to promote that a whole lot, but I gotta say, like, it's pretty cool. And traveling alone is kind of an interesting, aspect to that. But that's something that you really love to do, right?
I do, yes. And that was a little bit of a foundation of why I wanted to start a business, or at least find a business that allowed me to work mostly remote. So I was be able to travel a lot, and it's really important for me to find a job that focuses around the lifestyle that I want versus my life focusing around my career. And that's one of the reasons Courtney and I teamed together so that we could have the flexibility to travel. For example, I'm going to California this next coming week. I'll be working remote for about 9 days, which is totally fine. We schedule around virtual meetings, schedule in-person things around that time. But yeah, it's really fortunate. I love solo traveling, like you mentioned. I love to encourage females to also solo travel and find that empowerment to do it in a safe way. So yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Bo, can you tell me about a time where you as a business owner might have been treated differently because of your race, and kind of how did that make you feel? How did you react to that? Tell me about that experience.
Yes. Super fortunate. I have not had to encounter too many of these, or at least that I'm aware of. I would say most of the time it's my age, and I don't know if my race helps, contributes to me looking like a lot younger than people think that I am. It's very common for people to ask me like, oh, when did you graduate? And I'm like, I don't know why that necessarily matters. Like, I'm here right now. It's what my experience talks more than my graduation year. So that's one of the most prominent ones, is probably my age. People asking that, especially meeting different people that might be older than me, and it's just kind of like a trust issue. Like, oh, you're so young. How can you be doing this or XYZ. So.
Well, that's interesting too, because, graduation doesn't, as you mentioned, graduation doesn't necessarily guarantee skill, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, all of these highly profitable tech entrepreneurs that never graduated college. So I'm sure that if someone were to ask the Zuck when his graduate date was, that wouldn't really matter to them, right?
No.
So yeah, that's a really interesting thought, and you're right. I mean, it's all down to skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Can you talk about a time when you had experienced adversity within your entrepreneurial journey and how you kind of reacted and overcame that?
Yeah, we're really fortunate to have a lot of good clients and people that reach out to us, and we're really lucky to work with a diverse amount of people, either in different industries and ages, races, genders, all those things. It's been interesting entering into the Indianapolis market for sure. We thought that, people would be really gung-ho and find the value in marketing, but it's been very interesting. We put out different proposals, and we had some feedback from one person for social media, and they said, this is one of the best proposals that I've seen. I have no doubt that you will be really great for us, but right now we just can't afford your rates right now. And we're like, interesting, because we've seen other people's rates in Indianapolis and they are double what we were charging. And it's just been very interesting to kind of see how those different mechanisms of, yes, there's a lot more competition in Indy, or, there's different relationships that people have already established. And that's one thing that I've noticed a lot. It's building this business. It's who it's the people that trust you, and that's who they're going to trust with their business. And it's not going to be some random person that cold called them or is DM them on Instagram. It's going to be the person that someone referred or that they already know and trust. So.
That's why those networking opportunities are so huge, right?
Build those relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about something about your culture that you're super proud of, about your Asian history and background?
Yes, I actually was able to go to China back when I was in college at ISU and study abroad there for about 6 weeks in Shanghai, China. Something that I am very proud of that I didn't realize when I went over there is the food. Like, I love Chinese food, like authentic Chinese food, not the Americanized version of General Tso's and orange chicken, what you find at Panda Express. No, I'm not eating that. But it has been fun to see the food and the authentic Chinese food and how they just really love community and family. My boyfriend is Taiwanese, and his parents were immigrants from Taiwan. So it's been fun to like get to know their family, especially since like my family, they're Caucasian. My older brothers, they're older too. So it's fun to kind of see what the Asian culture and the family side is like, and really just like connect with them on why they came to America and how they continue to live the traditions in America and how they blend the American and Asian culture.
That's awesome. Love the food and community.
Yes, love the foods.
Yes. What's something that you wish our community is in the Wabash Valley? What is something that you wish our community knew about Asian culture that that you just want to share with us?
It's more about learning people's stories and not making assumptions or stereotypes based on what they look like, especially in the Asian community, because a lot of times, and I guess could go back to one of your previous questions, that people will assume that because I'm Chinese, that I was either born in China and coming here and I don't speak good English until they hear me talk, or it's the opposite way. They're like, oh, she was born here, like she doesn't understand the Asian culture on the other side. So
you're not a real Asian.
Yes, it's like balancing, yeah. Okay, well, what community do I fit in since I was adopted? I grew up with different values and culture than what I was from. And it's been a lot of fun learning about the Chinese culture and just Asian Eastern values and how they work, especially on the business side. One of my goals, and I always say this, but it'll happen eventually. I want to learn Mandarin fluently enough that I can go over to China and just speak without having to have a translator or have my phone in front of my face the whole time trying to figure things out. And I've been lucky enough I seek out, or like I loved connecting with other people in the Asian community, even if it's Chinese, Korean, Taiwanese, whatever. I just started a group chat with on Instagram with some of my Asian friends, and I was like, I just want everybody to connect. They're not all where I'm at. Some people are across the country that I've met, but I have met all of them, and we like started a group chat. I just want everybody. It was actually just a couple of days ago, so I just see that kind of come to fruition, and also just people that are adopted that have those that grew up in a different, not different, but like looking different than your parents. So I just had a conversation with my best friend Michelle and a new awesome girl that I met. She's also South Korean. Her name's Tia, and she has a podcast that we were on. So we all connected and had a FaceTime yesterday and just talked about being adopted and how that experience was and in being raised in America. And it's different because I was in Indiana, like Michelle was raised in St. Louis area, and then my friend Tia, she was raised in, I don't remember, but not in, like we're all in different areas. So just kind of connecting with them and understanding of their stories and how they've seen things from different perspectives in cities versus where they're at now.
Sure. That's so cool. I love that. It feels like you're bringing that community feeling that, that you learned when you were in China back, to your own life, right? That's kind of cool. Well, we also love to give our individuals who participate in these the floor. You have the chamber's ear, and all of our members are our business community of the Wabash Valley. What is something that you as an Asian American want the business community of the Wabash Valley to know? I mean, you have your soapbox. Have at it.
This is a great question. The biggest part is taking a step out of the box and out of the stereotypes of, oh, they're really STEM focused, science, technology, math. That, I mean, me being in marketing, it's been a whirlwind. I don't meet a lot of people that are also like Asian that are in these fields. A lot of my friends that are there, they are in the STEM field, which is great. And I think that's one of the reasons for example, you talked before of how one of the things of overcoming adversity is meeting somebody of my race in marketing, and they don't always understand oh, why aren't you doing something in tech or science? And I'm like, I don't like that. It's great, but that's not where my passion lies. And being able to travel, especially something that I've been really lucky and been able to do. So what I encourage the Wabash Valley, and whenever you encounter an Asian-owned business, is learn their story, because they came over here or their parents did. Most of the time, they have a very compelling story, and you'll learn a lot from just listening to people's backgrounds, just asking them the questions on how can I support you in this community, especially being in Terre Haute. There's not a large Asian community that I found, even in Indianapolis and Indiana, just in general. But as I've traveled to more diverse places like Austin, Texas, and California, where those communities are very more there's more prevalence in there, it's fun to walk around and not get stared at. And I don't know if I've gotten used to it, I guess, but my best friend Michelle, she's South Korean, and her husband is Caucasian. And in the beginning of the relationship, he'd be like, hey, people are staring, does that make you uncomfortable? And she's like, I just get used, I'm just so used to it now. Mm-hmm. And I never noticed that, but I'm like, I'm used to that too, which is not a bad thing. I don't know if it's a bad or good thing, but just understanding people's stories and connecting with them and how you can support their business. Because whether they're an entrepreneur or they are working for a company, like they came over here, they've had different struggles, or their parents, grandparents have, if they were born here. It's very interesting I love talking not just with Asian communities, but anybody that has come to America within, especially the past 50 years or so, and how they've seen it change and within those areas.
That's a theme that we're noticing through this inclusive entrepreneurship series is all the individuals that we've had have said something along the lines of, hear our story, right? Listen to the story, because one, it's interesting, and two, you might learn something. And it's very interesting to see that, you know, we can learn a lot if we just sit down and ask, right? And there are quite a few individuals that are more than willing to share their story, and happy to do so if all we do is ask, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to do with this series is ask, right? What's your story? Tell me about it. Let's learn something new. Let's learn something cool. And entrepreneurs are the best. I feel like entrepreneurs are the best individuals to do that, because you've already gone through so much adversity just being an entrepreneur, not necessarily. And then add on top of that the fact that you're a female entrepreneur, you're younger than most in your area, an Asian individual at that. I mean, there's opportunity for a lot of adversity there. And so that's why I love talking with entrepreneurs about that, because they've already faced a lot of that and said, nah, I'm going to go through with it. So it's really cool.
Thank you.
So we will continue this discussion on inclusivity and entrepreneurship. Keep an eye on the Chamber's YouTube and the website for more inclusive entrepreneurship panels. Thank you very much, Bo of BoCo Collective, for taking care of this with us. And thank you to the Chamber for giving us this opportunity to put this together. See y'all later.